Have you ever had one of those moments when you're especially struck by just how stunningly beautiful our world is? Or how incredibly diverse we are? If we look at ourselves from space, what do you see? I wonder if a new lens on our world could make all the difference to what we see, how we think, and where we put our efforts. I have been honing my belonging lens and skills for as long as I can remember. Recently, my mom filled me in on new details about the day she adopted me. She said, "When I went to the foster home to get you, it was not a good situation. There were 5 other babies crammed into the same home with only one foster mother. When I went to pick you up, to hold you, you were covered in diaper rash from head to toe." As I listened, I realized more fully how my early experience of foster care and then adoption impacted my life. I've come to understand that in my baby's mind and on a visceral level, I felt pushed out. As a result, I am really attuned and sensitive to my own and other people's sense of belonging. Sometimes this sensitivity can hold me back, but for the most part, it propels me forward. My early experience taught me so much. I learned about the tenacity it takes to build a sense of belonging when it's been lost or never had, and about the role systems and people play in either building a sense of belonging or dismantling it. It's given me a particular lens on the world and is the driving force behind my passion for building more of a sense of belonging in my own life and in the world around us. When you really think about it, within any given social problem that we face in our world today, there are a group of people who feel pushed out. There are 65.6 million forcibly displaced people in our world. 370 million indigenous people, many of whom have been displaced from their lands and languages. And over half our world's population has moved from rural to urban settings. And these are just 3 of many more global changes impacting our sense of belonging. What if we look at the world through a new lens and we reframe our social problems as an erosion of our values and a crisis in belonging? And what if, in addition to treating the symptoms of our social problems, like depression or anxiety, or providing the basics like food and shelter, we paid equal attention to tending to our belonging? Throughout my career, I have used a belonging lens to support communities in their efforts to address their most pressing social problems. I hear firsthand about the impact a loss of belonging has on people. Regardless of age, culture, or social issue, people experience the power of belonging and the impact of not belonging in very similar ways. When people feel they belong and can truly be themselves, they laugh more. Their health improves. They're able to learn and solve problems more easily. They're more willing to take risks, make mistakes, and develop their talents to go after their dreams. When people don't have a sense of belonging, they share stories about how it can lead to violence against themselves or violence against others. In some, it might look like isolation, depression, or self-neglect. In others, it can escalate and lead to addictions, suicide, or even joining a terrorist group. It's one thing to feel pushed out of our interpersonal relationships. It takes on a whole new dimension when a system that is meant to protect us is used to push us out. like refugees who are tortured in a justice system, or a whole generation of indigenous children who are forcibly removed from their homes, or the targets of workplace bullying whose human resources department not only fails to protect them, but aids and abates the bully. The sense of betrayal and loss of trust in institutions and people can be debilitating. The rejection and shame can push us to withdraw from others and the world around us. Some try to cope with the pain by either lashing out at others or lashing inwards at themselves. Most just try to fly under the radar, hide their gifts, and bury their dreams in hopes they will never be bashed back down and out again. Believe me, it takes radical courage to trust again, to let ourselves be seen, and to truly shine. Imagine just for a moment our global deficit in our health, our safety, our talents, and even our joy, and how the simple act of tending to our belonging could make all the difference. So the burning question is, how do we build a sense of belonging? We've learned in our work that we build belonging from the inside out. Whether we're working on newcomer integration, indigenous collaboration, poverty, or any number of social problems, we always pay really close attention to two foundational ingredients: values and relationships. I'll never forget working with this group of Afghan refugee elders who are trying to build and find a sense of home in Canada. When I asked them, what creates a sense of belonging for you? They said, friends, family, and the importance of love, laughter, and compromise. What they were good at also played into their sense of belonging. They shared their talents as seamstresses, teachers, poets, and much, much more. When I asked them, what erodes a sense of belonging for you, their list looked like this: losing my son and husband to war, going to the grocery store and not recognizing any of the food or being able to read the labels, not understanding any of the street signs in Canada, and just being too afraid to go outside by myself in case I get lost. These were some of the things they were facing in their communities, but what they really wanted to talk about was the loss of belonging they were feeling in their very own families. They shared stories about how their role as the elder in their families had changed. They said, in Afghanistan, we were like the kings and queens. We were in charge of our families and our finances. Here, we feel more like live-in nannies and maids, and we have to ask our adult children for money to do even the smallest of things. And some felt the hurt of when they didn't feel like their grandchildren were appreciating them because either they didn't speak English or know the ins and outs of Canadian culture. In our process together, they shared stories, explored root causes, and identified the values that had been eroded. They identified respect in the family as the key value that had been eroded. When a group identifies the value at stake, it's like finding gold, because that's when the magic happens. First, they strengthened respect within themselves. They came up with tips and strategies on how to foster self-respect when it feels like no one around you respects you. The first one always stuck out for me. Be brave and remember your talents. As they restored and developed greater self-respect, their relationships shifted. They took charge of their time and their finances. They began to feel more appreciated, and in turn, they began to understand and appreciate more fully their children, and grandchildren's new lives in Canada and all that that entails. Excited by their insights, they got busy. They drew on their talents as seamstresses and storytellers and created this amazing shadow puppet show about the importance of respect in the family. It became a powerful and inspiring modern-day fable about their experiences and their solutions. They took the puppet show on the road and taught all Afghan newcomers in their area about the importance of respect in the family. One of the cool things was when we visited the group 5 years later, their work on building respect in the family was still going strong. Every single Afghan elder that joined their group was formally oriented to the importance of respect in the family and provided with resources and tools on how to foster it. In building respect within themselves, within their families, and in their communities, they became a powerful force for change. And in the process, they reconnected to their courage, to their talents, and their sense of belonging. We see this time and time again. In a South Asian Punjabi group, they identified gender equality and the importance of raising their boys to be kind and caring as key values to grow. They created a new annual Sisters and Daughters Day celebration to honor girls, as well as a powerful skit to educate others. In a group comprised of families living in poverty, they identified dignity as the key value to grow. They came up with tips and strategies on how to overcome shame. They also developed money confidence through building supportive relationships with each other and the service providers in their communities. Here's the thing. The people that are most impacted by any given social problem are the experts. They know how they were pushed out and what values were eroded in the process. They find their way back in through growing the values at stake within themselves, with each other, and with what they give back to their communities. In turn, when the community listens and we act on what we hear, we recognize we've been given an incredible gift. Together, we grow the values at stakes in our attitudes and behaviors, as well as grounding those values as guiding principles in our policies and systems. What if we look at the world through a belonging lens and we reframe our social problems as a compass leading us directly to the values and relationships that need strengthening? The work of belonging reconnects us to our stories, to our values, and to each other. I've learned from my own life and in working with many others, painful experiences can hold us back, but they can also propel us forward. When we learn the art of transforming painful experiences into a greater purpose, our lives are propelled forward, and we become a powerful catalyst for change. Sometimes I wonder, what if we all stopped in our tracks, every single one of us around the world, and just tended to the work of belonging? What would happen? Would we see a quantum leap in our health, our safety, our ability to solve problems and develop our talents? Would we experience more joy? And would we notice more often how stunningly beautiful our world is? What if you tended to your own sense of belonging? What would happen? Would you see a quantum leap in your own life? To get started, consider what holds you back and where do you yearn for more of a sense of belonging? What creates and what erodes a sense of belonging for you? In your stories, identify a value that's really, really important to you. Is it honesty, integrity, trust, or something else? First, grow that value and how you think about and treat yourself. Then strengthen that value, how you relate to others, and what you give back to the world. What if you tended to the belonging of others and you reached out to someone on the margins of your very own family, your own workplace, or your very own neighborhood, and listen to their stories, their values, and what they need to feel more of a sense of belonging? And then you act on what you hear through finding ways to support their voice, their talents, and their dreams. As we grow our values and reknit our relationships, together, let's re-examine our systems and institutions to ensure we are building and maintaining a culture of belonging. We are in the eye of a global storm, and whether we like it or not, we are in this together. A powerful sense of belonging and connection to each other and our world is possible, but the choice is ours. The work of belonging isn't always easy. There are bumps in the road, and at times it takes radical courage and tenacity. But when the going gets tough and we're still able to hold firm to our values and to each other, the rewards are great. We begin to discover the power and freedom of belonging more fully to ourselves and to the world around us. And when we create the space for others to do the same, we rediscover our incredible diversity and all the wisdom and insights that lie within it. It starts with our own lives and with the people right in front of us. We build belonging from the inside out. When you look at your own life through a belonging lens, what do you see? How do you think? Where will you put your efforts? The choice is yours. Thank you.